أجل فرجا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. سلام بانو أيتها الصديقة الشهيدة. سلام بانو. Salam be upon your tearful eyes. Salam be upon your slapped face. Salam be upon your injured ear. Salam be upon your slain fetus. Salam be upon your lonely husband. Salam be upon your orphaned kids. Salam be upon your bruised arm. Salam be upon your secret burial place. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا قائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. To hasten in the reappearance of the Imam of our time, please recite aloud salawat. So the reason why we keep the memory of the tragedies that befell the First Lady of the universe and the heart and soul of Rasulullah and God's finest creation, and indeed His masterpiece, and the origin of the divine light as referenced in Surah 24 verse 33 of the Quran, is to seek to reconnect with our faith and to re-establish our connection with our belief system and to restore our value system and to reaffirm our endangered identity and to recommit to our ideals, to our principles, and to rediscover our religion and to rediscover the gems embedded in our heritage. This is why we're here, brothers and sisters. In these challenging times, our youth are facing immense challenges, colossal challenges. They are facing a sea of ideas and thoughts and ideologies that are alien to our faith, alien to our religion. And a simple thought can alter our perception of life. A simple thought can reprogram the mind of our youths. This is why we need to seek a deeper understanding of our religion, brothers and sisters. Imam Sadiq famously said that I wish I could force the Shia youth to seek a deeper understanding of religion, even if it's by force. Because standing on shaky ground will not help if you are faced with a shubha, with a misconception. You risk losing everything. You risk losing your faith. Sometimes when a youngster comes up to me and he tells me about his detachment from religion, I ask him why. The reason is usually lame. The excuse that he gives me is ridiculous. And I can tell it's because he doesn't appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. He doesn't value the wealth of the Shia heritage. He doesn't cherish the valuable possession that he has, which is more valuable than anything else that you own in this world. Your faith is more valuable than your credentials. Your faith is more valuable than your wealth. Your faith is more valuable than your health. Your faith is more valuable than anything that you possess in this world. And this is why Imam Ali alayhi salam famously said, لَيْسَ الْحَرِيبْ مَنْ حُرِبَ مَالُهُ. To be a victim of a financial scam and to lose all your wealth is not even near than losing your faith. فَإِنَّ الْحَرِيبْ مَنْ حُرِبَ دِينُهُ. The real scam is to be the victim of a religious scam, is to be stripped from your religious ideals. That's the real scam that people are subjected to in this day and age. And this is why we need to seek a deeper understanding of faith and religion from the original source. And this is why we are here tonight. The original source is Lady Fatima. She envelops the light of the 14 stars. As mentioned in Surah An-Nur, in Ayat An-Nur, one of the most fascinating verses in the Quran. All the Muslims recite this verse, but not many contemplate the inner meaning of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to say. Allahu nuru as-samawati wal-ard. He is the light of the heavens and the earth. And then he gives a parable. In this parable, which is very intriguing, very interesting, مَثَلُ نُورِهِ كَمِشْكَاتٍ. He gives us the precise address of this light. Of course, this light is the light of guidance. He delivers guidance to the people in the heavens and the people that walk on the face of this earth through this light. So where does this light originate? Where is the address of this light? He gives us the GPS coordinate of where this light is. The exact address of this light. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع. This light is placed in houses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sought to elevate. وَيُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ. This is where Allah has remembered. This is how you can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the divine light. These are the words of the Quran. These are not my words. Al-Tha'labi, famous writer of the famous Sunni tafsir, an 11th century scholar, his tafsir, his exegesis of the Quran is reputable, respected by the Sunnis. It's perhaps one of the oldest tafasir exegesis on the Quran. He mentions this hadith in his book. He says, when this verse was revealed, a man gets up and he says, obviously this verse is not talking about mosques and centers. في بيوت. He's talking about certain houses. Ya Rasulullah, بيوت من? Whose houses are these? The Prophet said, Buyutul Anbiya. These are the houses of prophethood and prophets and apostles. Suddenly Abu Bakr stands up. Ya Rasulullah, and he points towards the house of Fatima, which was adjacent to the mosque. He said, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, وَهَذَا الْبَيْتِ مِنْهَا. Is this house included in the verse? The Prophet said, بَلْ مِنْ أَفَاضِلِهَا. The supreme example of the house that encompasses the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the house of Ali and Fatima. This is why today we find ourselves before an ocean of virtues. The house of Fatima is infused with virtues. It's the house of inspiration. It's the house of the divine light. If we seek guidance in this world, if we want to navigate our way in life, it's through this house. And this is why we've come here tonight to commemorate the tragedy of Fatima alayhi salam. And her tragedy is a gateway to what she represented, what she personified, what she embodied. Now, my topic tonight is about one aspect of the life of Fatima. It's about her marital life. And the reason why I chose this topic is because it represents our ideals and principles. Fatima puts into practice the Quran, the teachings of her father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa. And she is the finest role model when it comes to marriage and our marital life. Secondly, because we are suffering in this field, brothers and sisters. As you all know, divorce rates are soaring. When I see the statistics, it's just mind-boggling how 1 of every 2 marriages end in a divorce in less than 12 years. Just recently, the Iraqi government released the statistics about divorce rates in Iraq. It's mind-boggling. 400 divorce cases per day. And I'm talking about a Shia community, a Shia society. I'm not talking about Western society. So where did we get it wrong? I mean, if you were running a company with a 50% fail rate, and unfortunately I don't have the exact statistic regarding the Shia diasporas in the West, but it's at least 50%. 50% of all marriages end up in divorce. But I'm sure the number of divorce cases are soaring day after day. If you were running a company and this company is losing more than what's gaining, what would you do? You reevaluate the strategy of this company. Where did we get it wrong? Why are there so many divorce rates in the community? Why? When we have a role model like Fatima Zahra, when we study her life, especially her marital life, we realize that Fatima and Amir al-Mu'mineen were the most successful couple in this field. They were the happiest couple in the entire universe. And this is a challenge that I'm making today. Bring me a couple that were like Fatima and Ali alayhi salam. And don't tell me we're talking about 2 infallible individuals. The reason why Allah brought them to this world is so that we can relate to them, because they harbor the same feelings that we harbor. They endure the same pain that we as humans endure. Fatima had the same urges that every other woman has. Amir al-Mu'mineen had the same feelings that every other man has. And this is why they become a role model for us. And when you study their life, let me fast forward to the very end. Yes, they were only together for 8 years. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, when in his obituary of Fatima, says, وَسَرْعَانَ مَا فُرِّقَ بَيْنَنَا. They forcefully separated between us. وَلَقَدْ اخْتُلِسَتِ الزَّهْرَاء. She was taken away from me forcefully. This wasn't the age of death for Fatima. She was only 18. Fatima, on her deathbed, she makes a statement that was very rare. She says, Abul Hassan. You see the respect in her words. She doesn't say, Oh Ali, Abul Hassan, oh the father of Hassan. One of the hallmarks of their lives was respect. Once Imam al-Hassan and Hussein were playing together. Imam Ali was encouraging Imam al-Hussein. Fatima al-Zahra was encouraging Imam al-Hassan. What was Fatima saying? She was reciting a poem when she was encouraging Imam al-Hassan to beat his brother Imam al-Hussein in a playful way. She said, Ishbah abaka ya Hassan. Try to resemble your father, O Hassan. Look at the respect. A mother is teaching her son to be like the father. While we see in certain communities, when the father wants to talk to his daughter, he says, don't be like your mother. Or the mother, when she wants to talk against the father, she would tell the son, don't be like your father. Do this. Listen to me. While Fatima al-Zahra is telling Imam al-Hassan to be like her father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Abul Hassan, ma ahadtani kadhiba. I've never lied to you in my life. And I think the reason why Fatima was making this statement, she wanted to get the seal of approval from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Because the hadith says that if a husband intercedes for his wife to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God will accept his intercession straight away. He will not further probe into the files of the wife. The husband is endorsing his wife. Khalas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take her to paradise. So she wanted the seal of approval from Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ma'ahadtani kadhiba. I've never lied to you in my entire life. Wala kha'an. I've never betrayed you in my life. Wala, and this is mind-boggling, wala khalaftuka mundu ashartani. I've never even disagreed with you in my entire life. What? No disagreement, no dispute, no bickering, no fighting, no arguing whatsoever in the 8 years that they lived together. You might say 8 years is nothing. The real test is the 12th anniversary. Usually most of the divorces happen before the 12th year anniversary. But wrong. What they went through, the hardships that they faced, the challenges that they had to endure, was like living for 300 years of our life today. The wars, the poverty, what they saw during their lifetime was horrible. وَلَا خَالَفْتُكَ مُنْذُ عَشَرْتَنِي. I've never disagreed with you. Now we're not talking about a gullible woman, a naive woman who is totally submissive to her husband. No. Fatima had a strong character. She was the daughter of Rasulullah. She was a princess. If you listen to her sermon in the mosque, she went and challenged the government at the time. The powerful words of Fatima are resonating till today. Till today. وَيْلَكَ يَا ابْنَ أَبِي قُحَافَةَ أَفِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ تَرِثُ أَبَاكَ وَلَا أَرِثُ أَبِي. You inherit your father, while I, the daughter of Rasulullah, am not allowed to inherit my father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she had a strong character. So Fatima's words here saying that I've never disagreed with you, because Fatima was a principled woman. She had ideals that she adhered to. That's what makes Fatima special. Now you might say that, this is not a healthy relationship. For a woman to be totally submissive to her husband. Please recite aloud salawat. But we find that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, in describing his relationship with Fatima al-Zahra, he says the same thing. He said, Wallah, ma aghdabatni. She never angered me in my life, in our marital life. Never once. Wala asat li amra. And she never disagreed with me. Absolute respect, absolute harmony, absolute love. Wala aghdabtuha. And I never even once angered Fatima. She never disagreed with me. وَكُنْتُ. And every time I would come back home and my heart is filled with anguish because of all the wars, because of the hostility that the Imam faced in his life. كُنْتُ إِذَا رَأَيْتُهَا. Every time I would look at her without even the need for her to open her mouth and to console me and to comfort me. كُنْتُ إِذَا نَظَرْتُ إِلَيْهَا تَنْجَلِي عَنِّي الْهُمُومِ. All my anguishes, all my pains, all my distress would be removed from my heart straight away. تَنْجَلِي. Give me an example like this. Give me an example from history, modern times, ancient times, of a couple that lived a life like this. Give me one example. One example would be enough for me. And you might say that, Fatima, because it's Amir al-Mu'mineen. Let me just give you one example of what Fatima is talking about, of what Amir al-Mu'mineen is talking about in their relationship. So Fatima falls between the wall and the door. When she regains consciousness, Fidda, where's Ali? She was crushed in defense of Ali ibn Abi Talib. She opens her eyes, where's Ali? And Fatima, they took him to the mosque. So Fatima stands up. Despite the fact that she was injured, the broken rib, she was bleeding, the aborted pregnancy, she was heavily pregnant. She leans on the wall and walks all the way to the mosque of Rasulullah, only to find that Amir al-Mu'mineen is surrounded by 40 swords. Suddenly, she says, by God, I will reach the grave of my father and make a prayer. When I make this prayer, I will invoke God's wrath to descend down upon you. And by God, you will realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will quickly fulfill my wish. لَتَجِدَنَّهُ سَرِيعَ الْإِجَابَةِ. Suddenly, Amir al-Mu'mineen sends Salman to talk to Fatima to return back to the house. So Salman comes, Ya bint Rasulullah, O daughter of Rasulullah, your father was a mercy to mankind. Don't be the wrath to mankind as opposed to your father. She said, Salman, what are you talking about? Ma ala sabri aliyin asbir. I will not tolerate killing the father of my children, Ali ibn Abi Talib. This will not happen. And I will proceed to the grave of my father. Salman wouldn't be able to persuade Fatima to go back. Suddenly, he said to her, إِنَّ بَعْلَكِ يَأْمُرُكِ بِذَلِكِ. It's your husband that is telling you to go back home. She said, إِذَنْ أَرْجِعْ وَأَسْمَعُ لَهُ وَأَطِيعُ. I will return and I will obey and listen to him. While she was furious, while she was angry, and she had all the right to reach the grave of Rasulullah and to make that prayer so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wipes out humanity from the face of earth. But Ali says, please go back. I will listen. I will obey. وَلَا عَصَتْ لِي أَمْرًا. This is just the final moment of the life of Fatima al-Zahra, and I'll cite another example. So the two tried to meet Fatima al-Zahra after the ordeal, after the attack on the house and everything. But Fatima wouldn't give them permission. No. One day after Salat, they look at Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen, they say, Ya Abul Hassan, can you talk to Fatima? want to visit her. In my opinion, maybe if Ali would have replied by saying, no, she doesn't want to see you guys, they would have said later on that it was Ali that prevented us from meeting her. Otherwise, Fatima didn't have a problem with us. So Amir al-Mu'mineen comes back home. He calls her أيتها الحرة. He doesn't say, oh Fatima, oh al-Hasan. أيتها الحرة. Oh free woman. You have free will, you have the right to say no whenever you want. But these two have asked me to ask you to let them inside the house. They wanted to speak to you. What was the response of Fatima? She could have said, when they entered the house the first time, they didn't seek permission. They raided the house. And oh no, I will not allow them to enter the house. I don't want them to see me. I don't want to talk to them. She said, البيت بيتك والحرة أمتك. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. By the way, this doesn't bother me at all. Even if it's a bit distracting for you guys, because I believe the children should be able to come to the mosque, to the center, because Imam al-Hassan and Hussein were allowed to come to the mosque of Rasulullah. One might say that Imam al-Hassan and Hussein, they were imams, they were infallible, but they used to act like children. They used to climb on the back of Rasulullah while he's doing sujood. The Prophet would prolong his sujood. He wouldn't remove them from his back. So the children to attend the mosque setting, the Husayniyah setting, is good even if they're not, if they don't pay attention, if they don't understand, because these words will eventually impact them, inshallah. Please recite aloud salawat. So she says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the house is yours, and I am submissive to you. Whatever you say, O Ali. You want to let them in? The house is yours. But I won't talk to them. So they come inside. They say salam. She doesn't respond. Imagine. These were senior figures in the society. Assalamu alayki ya Fatima. Not a response. No salam to you too. And then said, we came to comfort you, to apologize if there was beef between us. She said, I just have a question from you two. Do you remember when the Prophet said, in a long story mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, Fatima bad'atun minni, man ardaha faqad ardani. Whoever pleases Fatima has pleased me, and whoever pleases me pleases Allah. Whoever angers Fatima has angered me, and whoever angers me angers the Almighty God. He said, yes, we were there, we heard the hadith, and we relayed the hadith to other people as well. They said, then bear witness that I have been angered by you two, and I am not pleased with you. وَلَأَدْعُوَنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ بَعْدَ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. And by God, I will pray against you after every prayer that I perform. Now you can leave. And they left. So the first guy, he stood by the door of Fatima. How can I go? This hadith of Rasulullah now applies to me and you. The second man said to him, she's a woman. He had no respect to women whatsoever. She's a woman. You take her words seriously. On the day of judgment, they will know how serious these words were. But she tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, if you want to let them in, you can let them in. The house is yours and I'm submissive to you. So this couple were the most successful in their marital life. Now the thing is for us to seek inspiration from their life, we need to know what principles did Fatima abide by, did Amir al-Mu'mineen abide by to make this relationship a successful relationship. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be present in our lives. Everything that you want to say, everything that you want to do, you need to take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into consideration. Fatima, from day one, when her father came up to her and said, "Oh Fatima, Ali ibn Abi Talib is proposing to you. Do you want to get married to him?" She said, "What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Is Allah pleased with me getting married? Is Allah pleased with me getting married to Ali ibn Abi Talib? If the aim is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God will take care of you." This is why the Prophet says to all the husbands, he says that you've been entrusted with this relationship, with this woman that is entering your life. Yes, it's a binding contract. Yes, there are areas where the wife needs to submit to the husband's will, but you shouldn't take advantage of it because you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching every word that you utter, every move. She might not feel it, but sometimes abusive husbands can destroy the lives of their spouses, of their wives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. And you can't escape the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh no. You can escape the authorities, you can escape everything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will come back and haunt you and haunt you. If you mistreat your wife, someone will mistreat your daughter, and you will feel the pinch when this happens to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over you. Take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into account. Let me share with you a little story. My aim wasn't to deliver a lengthy lecture, but I've traveled 14 hours to get to you guys, so don't expect me to give you a 20-minute lecture. Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Ha'ali, the founder of the Hawza in Qom, he was the one that established the Hawza. This man was in Samarra. After the death of his teacher, he comes to Karbala, establishes a Hawza, and then after 30 years, he's originally from Yazd. After 30 years, he returns to Iran to visit his family members. His classmate, Sheikh Muhammad Taqi Shirazi, was the marja of his time in Najaf. So he goes to Iran. It was supposed to be a 2-month trip to Iran, but he ends up staying in Iran for 6 months. So his classmate sends him a letter saying that I am too busy managing the affairs of the Shi'as as a marja. I want you to return to Najaf to manage the Hawza, to teach in the Hawza, to manage the affairs of the students. In his response, Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Ha'ali says that I came to Iran and I realized that the people of Iran are losing their connection to their faith and religion. So I thought of establishing a mini Hawza on the outskirts of Tehran, the capital city, in a city called Qom. Back then, Qom was a village, a small village. So I decided to stay. And he stayed in Qom for only 8 years before his death. When he enters the city of Qom, or the village of Qom back then, his wife becomes blind. She loses her eyesight. They said to him, Shaykhana, you're managing the affairs of the Shi'as in the city. You're establishing a Hawza here. Let her go. Divorce her. He said, no. This is not loyalty. We've been together for 40, 50 years, and now that she lost her eyesight, I leave her. And there's no one else like me that can manage her. I'm her husband. So they said to her, at least bring a few servants to, cater to her needs. She said, no, only me, only me. For this reason, he dedicated most of his time taking care of his wife. So he teaches in the Hawza and only to quickly return to his wife and to see if she needs it. It's different. If you're born blind, you can manage your affairs. But if you lose your eyesight at a later stage in life, it's very difficult. So he would hold her hands, he would take her to the shower, he would, do everything for her, even cook food for her. They said to him, Shaykhana, you have better things to do, more important things to do. He said, the tawfiq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me to establish an entire seminary for all the Shi'as that will come in the future is because of my service to my wife. This is why we look at the marital relationship as a fertile ground for three things. One, it would generate a lot of rewards. A lot of rewards. The hadith says, one day Amir al-Mu'mineen was helping Fatima in preparing the food in the house. Yes, Amir al-Mu'mineen helping his wife. So the Prophet comes inside the house and he sees the scene, Amir al-Mu'mineen helping out with the food. He says, Ya Ali, only the cream of the crop are given the tawfiq to help their wives in the house. And then he says that spending 1 hour helping your wife is equivalent to 1 year of ibadah. 1 year of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Praying during the day, praying during the night, and fasting during the day. You would receive by spending 1 hour helping your wife with the dishes, with the laundry, with the kids, whatever. And it's also a fertile ground to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith says that if a woman takes a piece of paper, the hadith doesn't say a piece of paper, something, an item from the floor, تريد صلاحا, to maintain order in the house, to maintain cleanliness in the house, إلا ونظر الله إليها, this will attract the attention of Allah. She's taking, just removing a tissue, a piece of paper from the floor. The intention is to maintain the household. إِلَّا وَنَظَرَ اللَّهِ إِلَيْهَا, God will look at that woman. This will attract his attention. وَمَن نَظَرَ إِلَيْهِ اللَّهِ لَن يُعَذِّبْهُ أَبَدًا. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at someone, will never punish that person with removing a single piece of paper. Now imagine if this woman is washing the laundry, doing the laundry, washing the dishes, taking care of the children, just to maintain that order in the house and to maintain that relationship. How much rewards that woman will receive. This is why the hadith says that if a woman is patient in the face of all the challenges that couples face in their relationships, on the day of judgment, that woman will be able to enter paradise from any door that she wishes. There is the door of jihad, there is the door of sabr, there is the door of the 8 different doors of paradise. That woman will carry the key for these doors. So it's a form of ibadah. Also, it's a fertile ground for tazkiyah, which is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us to this world. You feel the urge to retort back, to respond to a word that hurt you. But you say, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will not respond. The hadith says that أَمْسِكْ غَضَبَكْ, during time of fury. This is not exclusive to the marital relationship. This can be applied to every other relationship that we have. If you control yourself, manage your anger. When you are angry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will control His anger when He is angry at you. When you commit a sin and you deserve to be punished severely because you managed your anger there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will control His anger. Metaphorically, of course, God doesn't have sentiments and feelings like us, but He will not punish you because you refrained from venting out when you felt the urge to express yourself and be negative in a relationship. And also maintaining your akhlaq and ethics. The hadith says that if you maintain your akhlaq, sometimes because of the frictions, you tend to say things or do things that are inappropriate. The hadith says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُعْطِي عَلَى حُسْنِ الْخُلْقِ. If you maintain your akhlaq, maintain that smile, right? The hadith says Allah will give you the thawab of a abid who is spending the night praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in winter. It's more 18 hours. You're spending the night praying to Allah. Why? Because you have akhlaq. You have akhlaq. You refuse to answer that inappropriate word that you heard. You refuse to retort back to an inappropriate word that you heard. With akhlaq. With akhlaq, you can attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With akhlaq, you can reach the helm of greatness. You don't need to go to ziyarah, you don't need to go to hajj. Of course, you need to perform the obligatory hajj, but you don't need to, do all the mustahabbat. All you need to do is maintain your akhlaq. This is the best form of ibadah. The best form of ibadah. This is why we see the marital relationship a fertile ground to improve ourselves and to generate all these rewards. Just by being gentle, just by understanding what your duty is and how you need to respond and how you need to react. Of course, you need to have the religious understanding. You need to know what the thawab is. I remember once, how sometimes in our conversations we engage in ghibah. We speak behind people's back, right? The hadith says that refraining from a single ghibah. You're sitting in a gathering and you hear people are talking behind the back of a person. You refuse to be with these people, even though you enjoy being with them. But because it's a ghibah. You know how listening to a ghibah is like the ghibah itself? So you've refrained from a single act of ghibah. The hadith says that this is equivalent to going to hajj 10,000 times. I don't know if you've been to hajj. And I don't know if you've experienced the hardship, and it's so difficult, so much money that you have to spend to go to hajj, refraining from a single ghibah. So the religious understanding helps you a lot. I remember a couple of nights ago, I was talking to someone who was the care of his mother, who is very frail and fragile. So I was telling him that the hadith says that again, a man goes to the holy city of Medina and then he visits Imam Sadiq. Upon his visit, he says that I came with a sick individual. And I want to go visit the Prophet. He tells me, stay with me, take care of me. Allah will give you the thawab of visiting the Prophet. So he said, I came all the way from Nayshabur. Took me like 6 months to come to Medina, and I haven't even been able to visit the Prophet because of this man. He's not letting me visit. He wants me to be with him all the time. The Imam said to him that by staying with him and taking care of him, for all the people that have a sick child or taking care of a sick parent, listen to this hadith. The Imam said that if you stay with him, take care of him, Allah will give you the thawab of visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. You don't need to go to visit his shrine. Stay with him, take care of him, you'll get the same thawab. So we're missing out. For those of you that are not married, you're missing out on a lot. But if you're married, again, by acquiring the religious understanding, we would, deal with this relationship differently. And I think the relationship is widely misunderstood. And this is why we see all these divorces happen. Now, Fatima al-Zahra was the joy of Imam Ali's life. Fatima was everything to Amir al-Mu'mineen. The Prophet said to him upon his death, he said, "Amma qareebin sayanhaddu ruknak." You are leaning on two pillars. Soon you will lose these two pillars. When the Prophet died, Amir al-Mu'mineen comforted himself. He said that this is the biggest calamity, the biggest tragedy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to be patient in the face of calamities, and we will be patient. But when Fatima died, that broke Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yes, the warrior of Khaybar, the warrior of Uhud, nothing was able to break Amir al-Mu'mineen. But these people realized that if they kill Amir al-Mu'mineen, he will be a martyr, but they can kill him 1,000 times by killing his wife Fatima. He comes inside the house. He sees Fatima crying silently while she was on her deathbed. So he comes up to her. He says to her, "Ma yubkiki ya sayyidati." My mistress, why are you crying? She said to him, "Abki lima yusna'u bika min ba'di." I'm not crying for myself. I'm not crying because of my broken rib. I'm not crying because of what I had to endure, all the calamities that befell me. No, I'm not crying for this. I'm crying for what will happen to you after me. I defended you now, but these people, the hostility, the enmity that they harbor towards you is so deep that they will not be content with killing me. They will kill you, they will kill Hassan, they will kill Hussein. And when Hussein on the day of Ashura said, "Why have you gathered to shed my blood?" They said, "نَقْتُلُكَ بُغْضًا مِنَّا لِأَبِيكَ," out of hatred towards your father Ali ibn Abi Talib. They will not be content with me. أَبْكِي لِمَا يُصْنَعُ بِكَ مِن بَعْدِي. They say that Fatima was never seen smiling from the time of the Prophet's death until her death. Never once. Never once. Except for 2 occasions. During these 2 times, she broke the hearts of all the mu'mineen with her smiles. She smiled, right? She was ostensibly happy, but through the smiles, she made all the mu'mineen cry. Why? The first time was when the Prophet was dying. He was on his deathbed, moments before his death. Because he saw how Fatima was distressed, he said to her, "Bunayya Fatima, come near me. I want to say something in your ears." She comes near the Prophet. The Prophet whispers in her ear. Suddenly she smiles out of joy. They say, "Fatima, what did he tell you?" She said that he told me that I will be joining him soon. These people, my nation, they will raid the house, they will break your rib, they will do what they will do until you join me. You will be joining me soon. So I was happy to hear that I will be joining him. The second time was when she saw the casket that was made by Asma. Inshallah, I'll talk about this tomorrow briefly. She made the casket, the tabut. She brought it inside the house. When she saw the casket, she smiled. Now imagine what the kids went through. Usually you would only see the tabut, the casket, after a person's death. And it's horrible to see your loved one being carried in a casket, but the casket was brought before the death of Fatima. 2-3 days before her death, it was brought inside the house. She was happy. She was happy while Imam al-Hassan and Hussein were tearful, while Imam al-Hussein was crying. And this is why these moments were engraved in their minds. Yes, it was Imam al-Hussein that narrates to us what Amir al-Mu'mineen said after the burial of Fatima. فَلَمَّا أَهَالَ التُّرْبِ, after her burial, Amir al-Mu'mineen said, "Assalamu alayka ya Rasul Allah." It was very difficult because Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to bury Fatima. He didn't have a helper. Usually you have, all the relatives would come, but Fatima was very clear in her will. وَلَا تُشْهِدْ أَحَدًا مِمَّنْ ظَلَمَنِي جَنَازَتِي. No one should attend my burial except for Salman, Abu Dhar, Ammar, these individuals. And these were foreigners, these were alien to Fatima. They were not mahram to Fatima. So Amir al-Mu'mineen would go inside the grave. There's no one that would hand him over the janazah. He would come out of the grave. There's no one inside the grave to take the janazah of Fatima. After her burial, she said, "Azza ya Rasul Allah, qalla ya Rasul Allah an safiyatika sabri." I have no patience anymore. I don't know what happened to me, ya Rasul Allah. قَلَّ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ عَنْ صَفِيَّتِكَ صَبْرِ. Imam al-Hussein, even though he was 5, 6 or 7 years old, but he is the one that narrates these words. Because this scene is engraved in his mind. I have no patience anymore, Ya Rasulullah. I will continue to weep. I will continue to grieve until my death time approaches until I die. And this is why 30 years later a man says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, why is your beard grey? Why don't you dye your beard? He says, إِنَّا قَوْمٌ فِي عَزَاءٍ. We are still bereaving. We are still lamenting. We are still crying. وَأَمَّا لَيْلِي فَمُسَهَّدْ. I will stay awake every night, grieving for Fatima until I die. نفسي, these are the words of Ali ibn Abi Talib. نفسي على زفراتها محبوسة يا ليتها خرجت مع الزفرات. I wish if my soul can come out of my body like my tears. لا خير بعدك في الحياة وإنما, there's no good in this life after you, O Fatima. وإنما أبكي مخافة أن تطول حياتي. But I continue to weep and cry so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shortens my lifespan. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعنا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.